Welcome, Jari, to Metallidium Pages. It's a great pleasure to talk with you about this new album, about the Wintersun, and obviously more things related to the metal world. We are started by asking how are you doing today, and how is the band Wintersun doing?
I'm doing great. Just taking care of live stuff and preparing for the time to launch. Trying to keep up with the social media updates, and the other guys are also busy with their, other bands. And Nightwish is also releasing another album, and Jukka is doing some shows with Ground Shift, and Teemu is touring with Megadeth. So everyone is very busy in their own areas.
Okay. So talking about this new album, when do you start writing songs for this new album? Are are all the songs, or need you rescue any compositions that were left out the previous albums?
Well, my kind of work style has always been like I always write different uh, songs, and then at some point the songs are, I decide this is like the same style. It's gonna be an album. But for time one and two, I wrote all the songs around. I don't know, after the first album, like maybe some few riffs were written before the first album, but around 2004 to 2006. But actually, the second song on time two, One with the Shadows, that is actually originally written in 1998. Although the first demo version of it is shorter, there's some parts missing that are in the finished version in the album. But yeah, I have a kind of this kind of back catalog and riff library where I can pick up some older songs and then write new songs. And if the songs fit in the same album, then I'm gonna use the songs in the same album.
Oh, okay. So I saw that always Winterson is working in new material, always releasing live albums, compilations, new albums. So for you, when is time to release a new album for you?
When it's time to release,
A new album. When how do you see all the time? And let's see. I will rephrase this question. So, what motivates you or inspires you to keep such a consistent release schedule, especially when in an era where people listen album less and there are many other releasing competing for attention?
well, some might argue that we don't release enough albums, like we should release more albums. But for me, I'm making quite a lot of music, but for us, it's always been because the albums I want to make are quite a bit ambitious, and I want to have the production very high. So it's been very kind of difficult to make these sort of albums fast. But right now, we have been getting better resources because of the fans have been supporting us, especially with these Indiegogo campaigns we've been doing. So I hope now we can start to release more albums faster. But yeah, I'm always working on new stuff, and actually, right now I'm working on four new different albums, and one of the albums is very close to being finished. But let's get this Time 2 album to the finish line first, and then we'll see what happens next.
Okay, and for you, talking for the previous question, when is time to edit or release a new album for you? When it's time
When
to
it's
release,
time,
yeah, when it's time to release a new album with your whole, yeah, for Winters in general.
for me, I just feel when the album is ready, uh, especially for what happened with Time 2 in 2014. I was trying to mix the album, but I couldn't get it to the production level where I wanted it to be. So especially with the resources and the computers I had at the time. So I decided I need to put this album on the shelf, so to speak, and do something else. And then we went on this side road called the Forest Seasons album. But now I finally got to finish Time 2 with the better resources that we have. So
Well,
yeah, I just always feel like like some people accuse me of being a perfectionist, but I'm really not. I just kind of know when the album is, it has the right sound, and I'm willing to let it go like it's good enough.
Okay. So many bands and musicians see each album as a child, each one special in its own way. So what makes this album special to you? And do you work to maintain your classic sound while still keeping your composition fresh after so many years?
Yeah, well, this album Time 2 and also Time 1 is special because I really wanted to explore like this Asian exotic melody style. I've been really fascinated that about that melody style my whole life, ever since I was a little kid. I was playing this Commodore 64 game called The Last Ninja and The Last Ninja 2, and that soundtrack was amazing. And the whole where the ninja was doing his adventures, all the Asian gardens and stuff like that, it influenced me already as a little kid. And then when I was like already when I was like working on the first album, but especially after these movies like Hidden Dragon, Crouching Tiger, and Memoirs of a Geisha started coming out, I really loved those movies and the soundtracks. So I really wanted to explore this kind of Asian sound and that melody style more, and get that influence on my music as well. So I think that's what makes this album special. And also the lyrics are quite personal to me during that time, and like and about my whole life. So I think the lyrics are more personal than what I've usually written. So I think that those are few reasons that makes this album special, at least to me. Hopefully for other people as well.
Okay, interesting to know. So, yeah, one thing that captured my attention is the one thing that you said is because this album is the second part for time 2, and into this cover art, when I read the lyrics, especially you mentioned about you are very influential for the Japanese culture, especially because I think this is an herbal, and this is a tree from Japan. Like I think it's sakura. I think is one. So the cover art. So how do you relate now the time to cover art with the concept of the lyrics and also the music that you have in this new album?
Sorry, it cut out there. I
Oh,
couldn't hear the whole question. There was a little cut out.
okay. Don't worry. So I will repeat it. So how do you really relate the concept of the cover art with the lyrics and with the music?
Yeah, I know the cover was just kind of a vision that I had in my head, and it kind of represents life and how life passes by, and like life is really short, and I want to explore that kind of topic, like what is time and what is this experience that we all have, like from birth to death. And yeah, I think the tree just represents life and and death also, and it's also kind of the season change. And I wanted to create this kind of magical, mystical tree and this otherworldly landscape where the beautiful pink leaves are turning to silver and flying off the tree and dying, and but still it's beautiful, and like you can feel the sense of calmness, and you can be satisfied with your life, and also like it's kind of a metaphor like about this calm place, and there's like this storm outside of this calm place surrounding the beautiful calm place. And that's kind of also like sometimes I felt in my life, like wanted to create this like a calm home space, and then there's this crazy world outside.
Oh yeah, I understood. So, and what do you decide to continue the journey of time 1 in this time 2? Because the name is time 2.
Yeah, well, actually, originally it was just one album called Time, but then due to the problems, the technical problems we had making this album, we decided to split the album in two halves, two parts, like do the Guns N' Roses Illusion 1 and 2 kind of thing. And first I wasn't kind of excited about the idea, but when I started thinking about it more, I realized that the first half of the album was more kind of straightforward, and it had kind of its own identity as the second half, and the second half is a little bit different. It has more like dynamics, peaks and valleys, and more, I think, emotional depth to the songs. So I thought, yeah, I think this could be a good idea. So we decided to split the album in half, Time 1 and Time 2. Originally, for Time 2, there wasn't the intro, Fields of Snow. But I decided, like, of course, an album needs an intro, so I decided to do an intro for Time 2. And I based that, made that intro based on, like, the Way of the Fire chord progressions, and of course the Fields of Snow has its own melodies, but yeah, now it's two albums and I think it works really well. But the topics on both albums are the same, like every song deals with the topic time, but just in different perspectives and with different topics. But there's all the songs have like this red line following the album. There's always something about the concept time.
Okay. It's a little curious that Wintersun on this new album, and as you mentioned, it has a concept based on Japanese culture. Also, and that's a curious thing because as you can see in the world now, Japan has more expansive way with baby metal, with Hanabi bands, etc., etc. in the world. Also, a lot of people are traveling to see many things there. So I know a lot of people trying to fly Japan as vacations, etc., etc. So the Japanese culture is now like exploding around the world in many ways. So, do you think this is like a common thing in your world that Winterson create on this time too, or is perhaps a movement that you're trying to follow with your concepts? Because, right, as I mentioned, because now Japan has more attention than other countries in the world.
Or well, I didn't know that when I started making this album. It was like 2006. I can't even remember what was the scene back then. But at the time, I was really fascinated about the culture, the architecture, and especially the traditional music from those cultures, the melody style, and I really wanted to explore that more. But yeah, I've always been, I don't know what it is, it's kind of just feels like this far away, mystical and magical culture, so different that is what is here in Finland. So I've been fascinated ever since I was a kid, like all the kung fu movies and stuff like that. But yeah, it's a one kind of fascination of mine. But of course, Wintersun is just not one style. There's lots of other things I'm curious and interested about, and in the future I will explore those more. But for Time 2, this was kind of the little take that Asian influence to these albums.
Oh, okay. So, into this concept, so how do you feel the reception of your fans and press has been to this new album? Because you already posted new reviews. That's normally now that people are reviewing this kind of stuff. So, do you usually read reviews or criticism that get posted online, and how do you take it?
I read sometimes, but yeah, so far there's been really positive feedback. Also, although the album isn't out yet, so there's like been just few reviews so far. But I've heard comments from my friends and other people, and they've been saying a lot of great things about the album. So I feel really happy about that. of course, the expectations are really high because this album's been in the works for and waiting for so many years. So a little, I'm curious what the feedback will be, but we'll see on August 30th and after what people will think about the album.
Oh, okay. Okay, obviously into this obviously and with your last answer. So what are you delayed 7 years to release this album? That's curious thing.
Well, it's been actually more than 7 years.
Yeah, well, yeah, you mentioned me that you create this album at the same time when you release the first one,
Yeah,
but the label, this kind of stuff has to, well,
yeah,
delay the delayed release of the second time.
yeah. Well, all the songs were written the same time as time one, but it was just the mixing and mastering that I wanted to get to the next level and sounding like what I wanted it to always sound. But so that was always the problem. And then we went on the side road and we did the Forest Seasons album, and we released that album in 2017. And then we went on touring for 3 years, and after that we went on touring break just before the pandemic started, so we were kind of lucky in that situation. But after we came back from the tour, I still had to like do moving and move into this new semi studio, what I call jokingly, and I had to build it from scratch. And I bought a new computer, new Mac Pro, and installed everything from scratch and built a vocal booth and the studio. So that took like 6 months. So in 2020 in the summer, I finally I got to like start to make music again, like full time. But I still wasn't like feeling I should continue time to, because I had already written so much new stuff that I was so excited about. So I started working on 4 new different albums at the same time, and I kept on working those albums until last year August, when one of the albums got like 80% done, but I was still like this sound is good, but it doesn't really fit for this album yet. So I thought, what the hell I'm gonna do with this sound? Then I got this kind of light bulb went in my head, and I thought maybe I should try this sound for time too, and that's what I did. And I kind of started copy pasting the sound from project to project, and it didn't like work immediately, but after working on it for a couple of weeks, then it really started clicking, like hell yeah, finally this is the sound for time two. And then I continued mixing it for 3 months, and I didn't tell anyone that I was mixing it. And then last year in around the beginning of December, the album was done. So that's why it took so long, because I've been doing so much other stuff in the meanwhile.
Okay. So now talking about the promotion for this new album, what plans do you have for this new album? Perhaps upcoming tours, perhaps release more videos. Who knows? What kind of plans do you have for Time 2 and Wintersun?
Well, actually, we don't have any touring plans right now, because I decided that I want to continue working on that one album that I had close to being finished. Of course, it would be a great opportunity now to tour with Wintersun, because Nightwish is also taking a break, touring break. So Jukka and Kai would be free to tour with Wintersun, but of course Teemu is still very busy with Megadeth. But that's not the reason. It's just I need to follow my heart and get that next album done as soon as possible, because I'm really excited about it. So, and I feel like, because we've been releasing albums not so often, so I feel like we need to get more Wintersun albums released in the world.
Okay. So now talking about other kind of things, switching gears, there's so there's a lot of talk these days about the advancements of artificial intelligence and how it's being used in the arts, including music composition and graphic design. So how do you see this from your perspective? Do you think you might use AI in the future for composing, designing an album, or covering or creating a video, for example?
I don't think I would use it for composing. So I don't really feel I need to do that. I have so much ideas coming from my own brain. So, but I've already used AI for some side things like for the legendary early demo stuff that we are releasing, like to get something, just something for the videos. Like for example, I did a little demo video for the Dragon song. But for official releases, I don't know. Depends. Maybe like for a spice, I don't know. But I feel like AI is just a tool and everyone can use it. There's of course this AI police like like saying you can't do this. But I don't know. It's just a tool that everyone can use, and it's still not like the Mid Journey. It's still not great. I think you still need to like take hundreds of variations and then take from those hundreds of variations do some Photoshop work to make them somewhat like looking good. But yeah, it's interesting what will happen with AI. It's developing fast. But for video work, it can be a handy tool if you don't have anything for some you might release. But for like a proper music video, I wouldn't probably use it because I feel like it's not there yet in that sense, and it's better to do your own stuff.
Okay, we are very thanks for this, and we are very close to this interview, Jari. So on the other hand, I imagine that you must also mention sometimes that your sound is reminiscent of certain bands and that might have inspired you. But have you ever been told that you sound like a certain band when you really don't?
Like, is there bands that sounds like Wintersun or?
No, in the other way. So perhaps when you read reviews or you may mentions about it, some people say this band sounds like Children of Bodom, but you don't have any influence from Children of Bodom.
I mean, I have a lot of influences from my youth. I listen to a lot of bands, and I don't know, like there's Dissection, Amorphis, Dark Triangulity, At the Gates, of course Metallica. Even hard rock bands like Kiss and Skid Row probably have some influence, although you probably can't hear that. But when I was younger, of course, it was more like you want to sound like the bands you love. But at some point, like it just happens naturally. You kind of start to find your own sound. And in the early days, a lot of my friends were always like, "Oh, this sounds like this band," like kind of giving me criticism, and that's good because then it forces you to try to find your own sound. And I think I've started to find it like nowadays, and keep developing it even more.
Okay. Well, Harry, the sad times arrive at this interview. I hope you enjoyed this one like me. This album is a great one. As I mentioned, I feel the presence from the time one, because it's an old one. In general, is old. The music is old. So perhaps we want to add something. Congratulations on it, by the way. So, and do you have to add some, or would you like to add something to your Latin American fans and Metallica followers?
Well, I just want to thank everyone there for supporting us throughout these years, and it really warms my heart that we have, gained such a loyal fan base, and I hope that we can come there someday as soon as possible. But yeah, thanks for supporting, and yeah, hope to come there soon.